Hello and welcome to another video. So in this one we're going to be looking at Daily Race C, Group 4 at Monza. So I'm going to start off with my qualifying lap. I was aiming like mad to try and get into the 55s and I finally managed it, so I'm just going to run through the lap here. So I want to be braking just before the 150 metre board where the tarmac goes dark. Well, that's the mark I use, the tarmac changing. Really struggle with the exit out of the second part of the chicane. Got to get on the power as early as possible. And then coming round and looking for the tarmac on the right and braking just before it, just after the 150 board. Turn in as soon as you can and cut as much as both as you can, but make sure you get one set of tyres, stay just on the curb and not onto the yellow sausage. So this is where I was struggling, Lesmo 1 and 2, but Lesmo 2 I was using third on this run, but I think third or fourth are both viable, whatever you find suits better. And then on the run down to Ascari, you're looking for the orange marker on the right there on the Armco. Third or fourth again, you can take this in, but up to fourth through the corner. And then you can use that curb on the outside, but don't go only stay on the red and white, don't go onto the green or you lose time. And then I'm looking for the 100 metre board here. I brake just at the 100 metre board, turn it in, try and trail brake in, come off. Third or fourth again seems viable through here, whatever suits. And then you need to get your foot down as early as you can and just keep it flat. And then I don't like this, but you have to do it in qualifying really. I don't think the game should allow you to go that side of the white line. The game should give you the penalty in my opinion, but in qualifying do it, but I don't in the race. Stick to the left hand side of that line in the race. And if anyone tries to go to the right of me in the race and I'm all the way to that line, I will not move over because they're off the track as far as I'm concerned. But I think the game should do something about that. But getting into the first race here, as you see, fuel burning because this is a 10 lap race. Tyre wear comes into play last couple of laps, but isn't too bad because you're on the hard tyres and the fuel's not an issue at all. So it's a no stop sprint, 10 laps. So you see we're starting this one in fourth, and this shows at Monza you need a good qualifying time for the lobbies you're in, because the race after this I'll show you, you'll see the difference between starting near the front and starting in the middle of the pack. You see the car in front warming up the tyres, and I warm up the tyres a little bit there. And then I try and say at Monza turn 1 you want to try and have a bit of a pact with all the cars in front and all be willing to take the first chicane one by one. Because if anyone tries to overtake there, that's when the carnage happens and you lose a load of time. If you all just decide we'll stay one by one and try and work together, then you can break away in a bit of a group and hopefully have a good race. As you see, I think the 5 of us here have already broke the slipstream to the car in 6, if I'm not mistaken. And as you see, we've actually broke the slipstream to the car in 5th now, so there's a group of 4 of us, because I think he's just in the slipstream, the car in front of me. You've got to be very careful on this first lap, but you see I'm a bit too careful around Lesmo 2. But luckily I'm still in the slipstream. Because I think the first few laps of this race are all about, especially if you're near the front, try and work together with another car if you can, don't fight, pull away and do your fighting in the last 3 or 4 laps. Because then you don't have to worry about anyone behind. If you fight this early on, all you do is allow the cars behind to keep up with you. So you see the car in front goes wide there and he gets a half a second penalty for it. But he's lost slipstream I think there, so because he's got that penalty and he's lost slipstream, I'm probably going to try and work with him, see if I can push him back into that slipstream. So see, I don't go for the move because I don't want to lose myself any time. And then coming round Parabolica here, this is a very awkward corner to consistently get right in my opinion. but just sticking in the slipstream. He is sticking with it, so he possibly might just be in it, but I'd say by the looks of it he's probably just too far out. You see, I don't actually get close enough because he got a good exit to push him, but I'm not going to go for the move, just stick to the left out the way, let him take the corner, and I'll take it behind him, because trying to see, as I said, if we can catch up with them in front. But as you see there, we've got a 1.5 second penalty flashing up for the French guy in first place, so he must have cut that first chicane, and that's the one you really don't want to cut, because it does give you a big penalty if you cut that first one. So again, look, we're just going to lift off early because we don't want to pass this guy, because we don't want to slow ourselves down. Take the chicane as nice as we can. But as you see, unfortunately, we're going to lose slipstream in front when we pass this guy. We're not going to have any slipstream, and we'll see where the French guy comes out, because we could possibly be ahead of him, but we might not. Looks like he might have run wide there, actually, by the looks of that ahead. So coming through, those two cars are serving the penalty, showing why it's important not to get penalties, because look, they have took the French guy, so he was in first, and now he's going to drop back to fourth. So we're now 1.5 seconds from the guy in front, but the guy behind is still in our slipstream after serving his penalty. So hopefully he'll be willing to work together with us if he catches us up and help us catch the Brit in front. But a Brit 1-2-3 at the moment, which is always good to see. So again, coming round Parabolica too deep there, so I've had to scrub too much speed off. So probably going to allow the car behind to get right up on us, but this is where we'll find out whether he's willing to work with us or not. So I'm not going to go defensive at all, to basically say to him that I want to work together, letting him know that I've got no intention of, but he's going to pull to the inside, but you see he does let off and brake early, so he is willing to work together, but I get it a bit wrong there. Just go a little deep into the corner, and now the guy in front's 2 seconds ahead now, so he's clearly putting in good laps, so I don't think I've got the pace to catch him, unfortunately. But I'll still be willing to work with this car behind if he wants to. Nearly running wide there. You can just touch the gravel there and get away with it without it slowing you down too much. But if you get fully two wheels into it, it really bogs you down. Lesmo 2, I was using third most of the time in the race, but as I said, you can use third or fourth. But we're still brought that gap down a little bit, still hanging at that 2 second mark, so we are lapping at the same speed as the guy in front. So if the guy behind could get a little closer to us and push us, then we possibly could catch up, which is obviously the aim, is to, you know, I think for this race that's the best method, is you need to find another car willing to work with you, because you lose so much time battling. You know, it really, you know, you can be in a much better lobby than what you think you're capable of driving in at this track, and do much better just from other people fighting if you're willing to pick your moves correctly and take your chances when they come, as opposed to forcing them and trying to overtake at every other opportunity. But again, so I've already seen this guy behind's backed off once, so I'm obviously not expecting him to go for the big dive, so I can stick to my normal line. He does, he just follows me through, and we get a good corner that time. But looks like the guy in front's really good at that corner as well, because he pulled away a bit, but we have pulled it back on the exit. So we are matching the guy in front for pace, but his fastest lap is 4 tenths quicker than our fastest lap was, so I think more speed he has got, but we are managing to hang in there. So I'm going purple in the first sector. So as I said, if we could, the guy behind us could get right up on us and push us, we do stand a chance of catching this guy in front. But again, poor Lesmo 2 that time. But again, I think I'm getting the exits on the guy. But as you see, as I look back there, the guy behind's got a penalty. So we'll skip forward to start of lap 5. Because we pulled away from him, so we're in a bit of no man's land now. So it's just to see if we can put the laps in and catch the guy in front. But I doubt it. But as you see there, he makes a big mistake. Goes wide on the power too soon and spins his car. So we've stayed error free and we've got ourselves up into the lead. As you see, that gap's going up. So we've got nearly 3-second gap to second place now. So that's gone great for us. And as I said, we're not lapping the quickest. But you see, we have got a quick fastest lap, 57.0, and a 56.9 is the fastest. So, but then look, 4 seconds ahead coming to the final lap now, because I was just lapping on my own, keeping it clean, getting no penalties, and the cars behind started fighting. And as you see, my last 3 laps were not particularly great. However, because I kept it consistent earlier in the race and was picking my battles and not making mistakes, I've took a first place in one of the toughest lobbies I've ever been in. So I was very happy with the win there. So we'll move on to this next race now, which was an even harder lobby in my opinion, because there's a few guys in this lobby that I've never raced before, because they've always been in much higher lobbies. So you see, we've got the 3rd fastest qualifying time in EMEA at the moment, VSR Catfish on pole. We've got King Gears in 4th, Berst in 5th. So Penalty Magnet, who I know I've seen in quite a few people's streams in top lobbies before. So, you know, I've never raced any of these guys before from memory, and if I have, it's probably because they were the only top guys racing at the time. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think in dailies I've ever raced any of these guys before. I think I might have raced King Gears once before, but most of these guys I haven't raced before, so it's going to be a challenge. But as you see, we're starting this one in 9th, so a totally different type of race to the last one. But again, I'm going to use the same tactics. I'm going to try not to fight. So you see, I just stick to the left there, make sure to make no contact with anyone, let him keep that position, get round, and then we can keep racing and we don't lose time. And you see the car behind goes wide, so we just managed to break slipstream, but he might get that back coming into the next chicane as all the cars bunch up again. But this is the aim. You always want to be, if you can, at the back of the group. You want to be in slipstream of the cars in front, but not have anyone in your slipstream behind, and break away with however many in your group you can. Because the more there is fighting, the more chance of you making a small mistake. And I've seen in some people's races, they run wide at Lesmo 2 for example, and 4 cars will come past them because the pack's that close. So like here, the car at the front of this pack went wide slightly, you know, he could be losing 4 or 5 places because we're all so close to him. You see, I got a poor exit there, so I've got a bit of a gap. They're all bumper to bumper and I've got a bit of a gap. Letting off a bit early because I don't want to hit into anyone. Again, trying to just stick in this train and use the slipstream. Because as I said, I think obviously these guys are a lot quicker than me, I think. So obviously I need to race tactical, which as you see, the guy in 11th at the moment, the guy from Denmark, he is in a Jaguar. You'll see him later in the race, and he races this race extremely smart. He spends the whole race working together with other cars and gets a good result in the Jaguar. So, you know, shows racing smart is the way to go in this race. But as you see, we're weaving down the straights here as someone's trying to make sure no one gets slipstream, but we back off early. Make sure we take our line into the corner and close right back up. Don't get the greatest exit though, but we are still in that slipstream. So we're going to skip ahead now to the start of lap 3, because again we unfortunately made a mistake and just lost the slipstream and allowed the guy behind to get in the slipstream, and I was hoping he would work with me, but As you see here, he didn't want to, he's gone for the move, so I've backed out, let him have it so we lose as little time as possible. But you see he's just braked too late and gone deep and slowed us both down there. So I think if he had worked with me there, we would have caught back up to slipstream, I think, but he chose not to. But you've got to take that, you've got to accept the way each other's going to race. But again, I'm going to work with him and see if I can bump him back into slipstream, because I want to stay with that group if I can. But you see there, because I didn't want to hit him, I backed off too much and took myself out of slipstream range. So that was a stupid little mistake for me there, just being overcautious, not wanting to hit him, and I ended up putting myself out of slipstream. So maybe it turned out to be a good idea from him to overtake me. But you see now the Brit behind and the Dane behind are working together. As I said, the Danish guy's in a Jag, so he is pushing the Brit along to keep his speed up. So we're going to jump ahead again. And as you see here, we're nearly back in slipstream because the Spaniard up ahead's had to serve a penalty, and there we are back in slipstream now. So hopefully we can cling back onto this group now. As the Spaniard does go wide, but he gets away with it there. Again, I think all this race as smart as you can is the main thing, but you've got to accept not everyone is going to be willing to work together, so you've got to pick your fights and pick who's going to fight and who's going to work with you. And you know, and if you think a car's quicker than you and he's willing to work with you, maybe think about letting him past and you pushing him along might be quicker for you both. So, you know, I think that's the best way to go about this race and have good, fun, exciting racing. So as you see here, is the Spaniard going to go for the move? Don't know if he half did, but he slowed both of them down there and slowed me down, and I've just tapped him, but luckily everything's alright. But really, in my opinion, that Cloud versus Rhoda should have just stayed off, kept behind the Spaniard, let them both take the line normally. But as you see, because he went for the move and stuck his nose in, they've lost the slipstream to King Gears up ahead now. So, but as you see, he makes a mistake coming out there. So this is where I would go for moves when people make mistakes, rather than going for dives into corners, sort of let people make errors. You see he's still got his nose in there, but he does the clever thing that time and backs out to let me have the position so we can both take the corner. But as you see, we've managed that overtake and not lost slipstream to the car in front, which is, I think, what you want to try and do is pick your overtaking moments to where when you pass you'll still be in the slipstream of the cars ahead. You don't want to pass a car in a position where you're going to slow both of you down and lose that slipstream, because this race is all about that slipstream train. And as you can see, there's several groups formed now in this top 10. So again, here I was wanting to work with the Spaniard behind. I'm trying to follow the slipstream of the Spaniard in front, but I'm hoping the Spaniard behind works for me. But you see, he just gives me a tap there, which I didn't actually notice at the time. But this then annoyed me, forced his way through, and I thought, silly place to overtake. I would say probably the worst place on the track to overtake is Parabolica, because all you're doing is, both of us have lost loads of speed down this straight now, because neither of us have got slipstream and neither of us are pushing each other, so we've lost a load of speed. So I'm just going to back out of this, let him have the position so I can take the corner cleanly and lose as little time as possible. But I was even more annoyed when I looked on the replay, because let me know your opinion here, but to me this is definition of push to pass. You see, let's go with the brakes there. He just taps me in the back and then gets on the inside of me. So I thought I'd just ran wide, but I didn't. He tapped me wide. So if you look from behind with me, look there, just gives me that tap, opens up the gap, sticks his nose in and forces his way past. So I would say that's the definition of push to pass there. So let me know what you think in the comments below, but I think that's a little bit out of order. He slowed us both down as well. So now it looks like we're probably only racing for possibly 8th if we're lucky, but most likely 9th, sorry. So but we'll see what happens, because there is some carnage about to go on in this race. So we're just going to try and stick with him and now see if we can bump him back into that Spaniard's slipstream if we can. But he's run wide there, but he's got away with it again. So a couple of times he's just touched the gravel and got away with it. So again, we're not going to go for the move because, as I said, we don't want to lose time, because if you look behind as well, it's only a second gap now to those two guys behind, because as we've been fighting as a three, those two have just been plodding along, working together, and they're nearly back in slipstream range. So I'm going to bump the Spaniard here to try and push us back away from the slipstream. But that shows the difference, how quick they were. What, 2.5 seconds behind us a couple of laps ago, and they're now nearly back in slipstream just because they've worked together and we've been fighting. So makes a big difference. But again, so here, because their luck's less than a second, I'm going to bump the Spaniard here because I don't want them catching up and turning this fight for 9th into a 4-car battle instead of a 2-car battle. You see, unfortunately there, the Spaniard goes deep, so that slows us down again. I think he's trying hard to catch the guy in front, and he's just pushing a little bit too hard, I think. But as you see, that's let that time behind come down again. So they're right on the edge of slipstream range now, so any mistake and they'll be back in it. So we back off early there because we're right behind him. Let's both take the corner clean. Again, he nearly runs wide again there. But as you see, their cars behind are now back in slipstream, unfortunately, because they're working together. But something's happened up ahead, and as you see, Berst swerves into the Spaniard there. I don't know what that was about, but let's see what else happens. Berst runs wide now. I'm going to try and follow the Spaniard, but Berst turns into him and comes across me, and luckily for me, the ghosting system works for me. Unfortunately for the Spaniard, he gets taken out. But let's look what happened here. So Berst at the second chicane's made an error, run wide, tries to get to the inside to defend, but the guy's just got his nose in, so Berst does push him on the grass a little bit, but then he just gets punted from behind. So I think Berst there, giving benefit of the doubt, he didn't know that that car was alongside as he tried to defend, but he took a swipe at the Spaniard there, as you see, turned left, and then here he makes his own mistake, no one's fault, and he takes a swipe at this Spaniard, and we've not been racing with him, and then nearly takes me out as well. So I would say that is dirty driving from Berst. But the 7th wave, is this dirty? Because Berst has pulled across. As I said, I'd give Berst the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't realise the guy's got his nose in, and the 7th wave deliberately punts him off, in my opinion. So the 7th wave and Berst, I think, were very naughty there. I can see why the 7th wave was annoyed, because Berst has pushed him onto the grass. However, as you'll see from an incident I'm involved in a little bit, it's very easy to misjudge where that car behind you is when you're going aggressively defensive into Lesmo 1. So I'd give Berst the benefit of the doubt that he's made a mistake. He's cut right across to the inside to try and defend, but the guy has got his nose in. But then the guy just punts him off, which I think is a bit out of order. But Berst's reaction after that, in my opinion, is disgusting. He tries to take two Spaniards and me out when we've not even been racing with him. So there's no reason for him to be annoyed with us at all, in my opinion. You see, we carry on now, and as I said, unfortunately, the Brit behind and the Dane behind have both managed to get back in our slipstream. So now we've got a 3-car battle for 8th, because I don't know if we'll manage to catch this guy in front now if we start battling. But there is a penalty flashing ahead by the looks of it for King Gears, I think, there. So hopefully that could possibly get us some slipstream back. You see, we make a little mistake there, and we do the same as Berst, get right to the inside as quick as we can, back to the racing line when we see he can't go for the move, and the Brit does keep his nose out. So that's really how you do it. But, and as you see, just taps me the Brit behind, but he was having lag issues, so I think it was a lag tap. That I don't think it was anything malicious, but that puts us side by side here, which is not what we want. Let's see what happens going into Ascari here, side by side. He just gets ahead of me, but we have got that inside line, so we're going to outbrake him here, and we're just going to keep that position. So good fair fighting in my opinion there, but we'll go back and have a look at that and see what we think and compare it to Berst. So as you see here, I pull right across early, but you see he never quite gets his nose in on me. But the difference between that and Berst is so close, and as I said, I've only done the same thing, just got right across to the inside as quick as you can. And as you see here, I just get a bump there, but if you look on the replay, I don't think he touches me on the replay, so I do think it was lag related. See, but as you look there, he never gets his nose in, so you know, I think that's what Berst was attempting to do, but the guy had got his nose in. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What you think of each situation. Do you think I was in the wrong? Was it too aggressive defensively for me there? You know, did you think I should have left him the space, or did I have the right to do that? Let me know your thoughts. So as you see now, I'm thinking we've probably got a fight on, but King Gears, after serving that penalty, gets another penalty going through Ascari, so things are not going well for him with penalties, but we might not catch him because looks like we're going to be fighting here. But as you see here, I'm going to stick to this white line, because as I said, to me, if you overtake on the right, I'm not going to move. And as you watch here, he goes for it on the right, but that's not the racetrack, so I ain't moving because that's not the racetrack. He goes back to the other side, but then he switches back across and lets off the brakes, and I was not too happy with that move. I thought that was a bit of a dive, but he did get the car stopped, I suppose. So, but I think he only got the car stopped because I didn't turn in. If I'd turned in, you know, we both could have ended up off the track there. So I think that was a little bit of a dive, which is why I'm going to go for the move I'm going to go through here. But you can see his lag now, he's all over the place. But you know, for you dive me, I'm going to dive you back, and managed to do it clean. So as I said, I just think those incidents there are aggressive racing rather than dirty racing. But as you see, he does get punted from behind, but I watched the replay and it was total lag hit, and the guy behind did apologise because he'd been working with him for the whole race that it was lag, which as you could see on my screen there, that guy was lagging. So you know, I think he just misjudged where he was because of the lag, and unfortunately he ended up getting punted off. But now we've got the Jag behind us. But can we get back in King Gear's slipstream now, coming through Ascari? It looks like King Gears is struggling through Ascari after serving penalties, so that allows us to get back in the slipstream. So maybe after looking like we were only fighting for 9th, is 7th possibly on. But something's happened to the Jag coming out of Ascari, and he's lost our slipstream, which is very important because he needs the slipstream. So now coming on to the final lap, we're going to have a battle with King Gears here, see if we can nick 7th place. But King Gears is going to go really defensive. But as I said, I'm not going to go to the right of him because that's not the racetrack as far as I'm concerned. And as I said, you should get a penalty for it. So I go to the left, brake late, see if I can hold it round the outside. And King Gears just cuts across me. Let me know what you think of that. I personally would have liked a bit more space given. However, King Gears is in front, he's on the racing line, so it's his corner, so he has every right to do that in my opinion. But it would have been nice if he left me a bit more space. But you know, nothing wrong with that, just aggressive driving. And then here I just outbraked myself, and I was so worried I was going to hit King Gears there, and I just avoided him, but that's lost me the slipstream and got me a ½ a second penalty. First one of the video, so unfortunate that, and it's going to bring Flash Boy back into contention as well. So unfortunately we're probably going to lose a position here, which shows how important it is to not get penalties. Because King Gears as well was fighting up in the top 4, I think, but obviously his penalties have dropped him down to 7th. Well, as you see there goes the Jag going past. So great effort from that guy picking the Jag and getting a top 10. As you say, can we get a good enough exit? Doesn't look like it. Again, he's going to swerve straight to the left, which good idea in his car. Doesn't want me having the slipstream when I'm in a much quicker car. But you see, we are gaining on him fast. Are we going to gain enough? Unfortunately, I don't think we're close enough for a dive, so I'm obviously not going to go for it and ruin his race. And the Spaniard closes up behind as well. But we take a 9th place in the toughest lobby I've ever raced in. Bit unfortunate, I think we should have had 8th, but that silly little mistake when we were racing on the last lap. And that shows it's so easy in these tight lobbies to lose time. So, but we were door 17 in that lobby and finished 9th, so great result. So that's all for this time, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.